Thank you for joining me and the great Matt Kibbe of Freedom Works. And for those of you who don't know, last night we had the Blogger Bash at your house at Freedom Works, and so thank you very much for doing that for all of us.
It sounded like it was a lot of fun.
It was great, and there were a lot of people who wanted to come, who felt bad that they couldn't be there, but I tried to welcome everybody. We had like almost 300 people, I think, so it was great. Anyway, what I wanted to ask you guys about, Senator Lee, you have been talking a lot about the balanced budget amendment. And I want some concerns about that are that if we have a balanced budget amendment, what that's going to force is that we're going to have higher taxes to balance budget.
Not under my amendment. My amendment has taken this risk into account, and it says that Congress can't spend more than it takes in a year, can't spend more than 18% of GDP, cannot raise the national debt ceiling or raise taxes without two-thirds of both houses of Congress approving that. And so it takes basically all of those alternatives off the table, absent some extraordinary circumstance that would compel two-thirds of both houses of Congress to do that. It would be so unusual that we can trust Congress to do that in a way that we can't trust Congress to wield the unlimited deficit spending power we have.
Do you think that this is something that's going to, I mean, this is going to take a lot of traction to get going. Do you think it's even possible?
Yes, I do. We'll have to keep all 47 Republicans in the Senate, and we'll have to get 20 Democrats on top of that in order to do it. But yes, I do think it's possible, because I think we have to do it. Americans overwhelmingly support this. And they do so because they understand that the longer we keep kicking this can down the road and we refuse to balance our budget, the more jobs we're going to kill. Our debt to GDP ratio is now close to 100%. And every single time that happens, we kill 1 million jobs a year. We kill annual economic growth by 1% every single year. We can't continue to do that.
Okay, Matt, what do you think? I mean, you're a libertarian-based kind of organization. How do you feel about something like that? Because spending's a big deal.
Yeah, you have to get it right. When you amend the Constitution, you don't want to do it in any way except the exact right way. And I think Senator Lee's proposal is the only one that ensures that we can't tax our way out of our spending habit. So if you're going to do it, you've got to do it right. I remember a year ago today, I think it was today, but a year ago in this hotel at this conference, then candidate was the first guy to sign on to this little-known document called the Contract from America. What was one of the planks, one of the primary planks? Pass a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution that limits taxes and limits the size of government. Well, since that time, this little-known Tea Party, this little-known candidate, Mike Lee, and his massive set of colleagues that are now the freshman class in Congress, we're changing the world. We're driving the debate, and that's the only way we get a real balanced budget amendment, because then we've got to go to the states and we've got to pass it.
Right.
When you're seeing the Tea Party class dictate the terms of the debate inside the Beltway, it's because all of the people behind them that have their backs. That's what we have to keep doing if we want to get this job done.
Well, what you bring up is going to be my next question. So, a year ago, Senator Lee, you came and hung out at that Blog Bash party I was talking about before. We all got to meet you. We all loved you. And Freedom Works, you guys have been involved in finding fantastic candidates. In fact, I want to, as an aside, I was so proud watching you in the congressional testimony talking about Obamacare and grilling that supposed expert, and what really was satisfying to watch was John Cornyn sitting next to you, and I could tell just by the look, he was like, oh, impressive. And he was impressed, and I was impressed, and I was like, yeah, the Tea Party guys are doing great. So
that was fun. I can't remember the last time I had more fun than that.
Okay, it's a little weird, but
I know. People tell me. Fun nonetheless.
I could tell you were having fun. It was fun watching you. But anyway, so Freedom Works is just finding candidates like this. There's been some knocks on the Tea Party saying that they don't really know what they're doing. But what I've seen with the candidates who've become elected, they're Wonderful. So do you guys plan on doing this more in the next election cycle?
Oh yeah, I think the excitement about the Tea Party movement is that they're now getting engaged in the legislative process, but they're starting literally at this event, interviewing candidates, looking for people that not only believe in principle but want to do something and have the skills to really change Washington. I think we're just getting started, and I think that in this next Senate, after the dust settles in 2012, Senator Lee's going to have a lot of new friends in the Senate.
Okay, so right now, fiscal issues, the economic issues, everything's money. But there's been a lot of angst around the libertarians taking over CPAC, that the social issues aren't important anymore, and there's some people who've got their nose out of joint. Senator Lee, how do you feel about that dichotomy that seems to be brewing?
Well, look, first of all, I am an across-the-board Republican, and I believe in Ronald Reagan's threefold vision, three pillars of conservatism. I support those wholeheartedly. And I also believe that the key to harnessing the power of the Tea Party movement is to remain focused on what the federal government does and what it's not supposed to do. Primarily, those are going to keep us focused on things like massive deficit spending, the need for a balanced budget, and the fact that many of these difficult social issues, as important as they are to us as conservatives who believe in that threefold mission of the conservative movement, many of those issues are best decided at the states. So we have to separate that out, and I think that can help unite us as conservatives and libertarians insofar as our efforts are focused on federal efforts.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? You've been inside the Beltway for a very long time. You know all the different organizations. Do you feel somehow that things have changed, or that there's more tension amongst the conservative groups? And here's the thing, there's a lot of people who conflate libertarianism with Ron Paul followers. So at Freedom Works, do you worship at the cult of Ron Paul?
We do not worship at the cult of Ron Paul.
That'd be idolatry.
Yeah. I love Ron Paul. He's an iconoclast, and I think that he's been part of this whole movement. And I said this in the Washington Post yesterday, I think a lot of the squabbling is between a few leaders who are all upset that they're not on the stage when they feel like they should be. When you talk to the activists, you wade through a Tea Party crowd, there is no difference between the social conservatives and libertarians. They've all come together. They're worried about the future of their country. They know that virtue is something that starts in their hearts. It's not something that they want the federal government to impose from on high. But these issues are that we talk about, government spending too much money it doesn't have, it's getting involved in too many things, it's throwing the Constitution out the window. We all believe that, and if there's any squabbling, it's being instigated by papers that are not our friends, and by national leaders that may have a more parochial interest in getting back on the stage. It's not amongst the people themselves.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. Like yesterday during Representative Paul Ryan gave a speech, and everybody was going crazy, no matter their stripe. And so in some respects, I think it's kind of angling by some insiders who are kind of unhappy. So what do you guys see over the next 2 years from a tactical perspective? Because we don't have the power to overcome a veto that has Obama. So what are you going to do concretely that can be done?
Okay, so we've already talked about the balanced budget amendment that has to move forward. We're going to use that. We're going to use our current situation where they want to raise the debt ceiling as leverage to get that passed. I want to get that passed. I believe it's possible. I believe we can, and we must, and we will. We need to move on once we've focused on that and hopefully get it passed onto some other issues that are of pressing significance. One of the other things that is choking enterprise in America, choking off job creation, has to do with oppressive regulation and overreaching by the federal administrative agencies. We have a form of lawmaking by administrative fiat in this country. It was never contemplated by our founding fathers, and I believe, is proscribed by the text and original understanding of the Constitution. That's why I support the REINS Act, and I'm co-sponsoring that with Rand Paul and Jim DeMint, an act that identifies those regulations that are especially economically impactful. And then it says that they will phase out after just a few months, unless or until Congress has approved them. Congress at that point becomes responsible, it becomes accountable to the people when federal power overreaches and intrudes on the rights of individuals and states. And I think that's the next big step. I also hope and expect in the next few years to start moving in the direction of aggressive tax reform. We have almost half of all Americans paying no federal income tax. And as a result, too many of them feel no association whatsoever with increased spending. And we need to make sure that we have everyone feeling some cost associated with government. I'd like to see us move in the direction of a single rate taxation system, ideally a single rate consumption-based tax system. That's an aggressive move, and it will take years, but I intend to push for it.
Is that, do you mean like a VAT tax?
Not a VAT, consumption-based tax. Some refer to it as a fair tax. A VAT is usually what happens. There are several differences. The most significant difference is that a VAT is intended to supplement rather than replace entirely our current very complicated personal income tax system that occupies tens of thousands of pages in the Internal Revenue Code.
Sorry for my ignorance, but you know.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
The point is, if every American felt some tax repercussion every time they made a purchase, then we would be focused a lot more on the fact that government programs aren't free.
How do you feel about that?
I think, I mean, the challenge with tax reform is it's going to require changing the culture outside of the Beltway, because the Beltway is not going to change. But with the kind of power that we're seeing with these spontaneous communities of freedom-loving people rising up, engaging, and getting involved in specific legislative battles, I think we can do what Rahm Emanuel once bragged about. We can do things that we couldn't do before, and we should be looking at that. I think from FreedomWorks' perspective, we want to connect all of these legislative entrepreneurs like Mike and all of his colleagues in the House and Senate who are offering serious ideas, turning them into serious legislative proposals, and connect them with the outside community through Freedom Connector, this new online platform that we just rolled out. And you can imagine working groups of people that want to work on a balanced budget management, not just back in Utah, but in Maine, in Iowa, in California, places where we're not used to mobilizing armies of grassroots people in favor of our issues. And that's how we're going to win from the outside, insisting on Washington.
Everybody in America.
Well, thank you both, gentlemen, for all your work that you've done and all the work that's ahead, and for being with me today. I really appreciate it. And everybody who's listening, go check out FreedomWorks Freedom Connector.
Yes.
Yes. And of course, Senator Mike Lee from Utah. Thank you so much for joining me today. Matt Kibbe from FreedomWorks.